Great. So um, I am Dr. Ron Chervin, and I am pleased here to be able to interview and bring an interesting, what I think will be an interesting conversation with Dr. Judy Owens. Um, Dr. Owens is the director for the Center for Pediatric Sleep Disorders at the Boston Children's Hospital, and she is also professor of pediatrics and neurology at Harvard Medical School. So welcome, Judy.
Thank you very much, Ron.
So we've known each other now, I think, for about 20 years. But of course, many in the audience may not know you as well. And can you tell the audience briefly about how, as originally a behavioral and developmental pediatrician, you ended up as a specialist in sleep medicine?
Sure. Well, I think it's probably a fairly common story for people in my generation because there wasn't really any training, any formal fellowship programs in sleep medicine, and to a certain extent I stumbled into it, partly because I recognized that so many of my patients, particularly those children that have ADHD or had autism, had tremendous sleep problems that affected their quality of life, but also their family's quality of life. And so I started to think about ways that we could develop to address those issues. And when I came to Brown, to Hasbro Children's Hospital, they were looking for a pediatrician to run the sleep program. And I thought, well, that sounds like a great idea. And a lot of what I did was learning by the seat of my pants, but I have found it to be such a compelling and wonderful field, and have never looked back. It's been a great experience for me.
And a great experience for the field, too, as I know that you've contributed fundamentally to research as well as education on children's sleep. And aside from that, I know that you've also had quite a strong passion for advocacy on one particular issue, perhaps above even some others. And that has been the school start times that are often still too early to fit with the internal clocks and the sleep needs of teenagers. And I was wondering if you could describe what do you think are the issues at stake here, and what has driven you to be so passionate about them?
Well, I think the first thing I would do is define what the term I like, deficient sleep, because that encompasses a couple of different things. One, insufficient sleep to meet developmentally appropriate sleep needs. But in addition to that, timing of sleep, which conflicts with the body's natural circadian rhythms. Think about shift work and jet lag and the kinds of repercussions that misalignment with circadian rhythms can have. Now, we know that from a biological perspective, circadian rhythms shift earlier with pubertal changes, which importantly means that these affect both middle school students as well as high school students. But at the same time, sleep needs don't change all that much in the teenage years. And so this has kind of the effect of potentially reducing the amount of sleep as well as misalignment of sleep when schools start too early. And these are biological facts that are really important to keep in mind. So both of these things, deficient sleep as well as mistimed sleep, have negative consequences. And this really has become a public health issue, which is one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about it, because I also have a master's degree in maternal and child health. And we know that insufficient sleep and mistimed sleep has impacts on physical and mental health, on safety, on performance, and overall quality of life. So some examples of that would be increasing the risk of obesity and later development of cardiovascular disease, including hypertension and metabolic dysfunction like type 2 diabetes. It impacts emotional health, including depression and suicidal thoughts. safety issues are paramount. So we know that insufficient sleep can increase the risk for car crashes, for pedestrian accidents, as well as increasing the likelihood of unsafe behaviors related to driving, like not wearing a seatbelt or drinking while driving. In addition, there's an increased risk for engaging in risky behaviors like alcohol and substance use. And remember that two of the major causes of teen deaths in the United States are car accidents and suicide. And we know that healthy school start times can substantially mitigate these effects by allowing teens the opportunity to get enough sleep and to get sleep which more closely approximates their underlying biological circadian rhythms. And furthermore, it allows them to get more morning, what's called REM or rapid eye movement sleep, which is critical for learning and memory consolidation. So it has the potential to have incredibly important effects on many, many aspects of teen health and safety.
Well, yeah, it's an impressive spectrum of issues that could suffer the impact from, as you say, deficient sleep, meaning either insufficient sleep or poor quality sleep. One of the things that's motivated me over the years as a neurologist is, in particular, the potential impact on cognitive function and school performance and behavior, and merging into, as you say, the emotional side of family relations. Is that something that's also potentially a benefit of all those things of getting the school start times straightened out?
Absolutely. There have now been a number of studies which have shown a very positive impact on academic performance as well as school engagement. So not only improvement in grades and standardized test scores, but improvements in attendance and even graduation rates. So students perform better, they're more engaged when schools start later.
Well, it sounds so logical and compelling. Let me ask you then, why are all middle and high schools not already starting at 8:30 a.m. or later? Or in other words, what seem to be the barriers to this schedule shift?
Excellent question. And some are real and some are imagined. And I'm glad you mentioned the 8:30 because that really, the 8:30 or later seems to be the sweet spot because it also allows for this better alignment of circadian timing as well as getting these teens more sleep. So probably athletic and school schedules in terms of practice and sports teams playing one another, that's a huge deterrent for a lot of school programs. And so one of the reasons that we have encouraged states to change start times on a statewide basis is to avoid some of these issues which involve one district changing start times but their neighboring district not doing it. And that obviously impacts sports schedules. And there are a number of states now which are contemplating doing this in their state legislatures. Other issues are parent work schedules and childcare, traffic flow. Teachers are concerned about their ability to engage in after-school programs as well as second jobs. But, you know, when communities decide to do this, there are almost no school districts which have gone back to the old school start time, because they quickly realize not only the benefits of changing school start times, but also that many of these concerns either don't materialize or don't materialize to the extent that they were concerned about. And I would just point out that there was a recent report from the RAND Corporation that showed that even from an economic standpoint, the benefits of later start times far outweigh the immediate costs. And this is based on looking at statewide change. They estimated that delaying school start times would project an economic gain of $8.6 billion to the U.S. economy after just 2 years. So they're really another very compelling reason to do this.
Yeah, it's an incredible argument. Well, finally, I'd just like to end on this important point, which is for anyone who's watching the Teach Out and would like to get involved, in other words, to actually go out and accomplish something effective with regard to their own local school start times, what advice would you have for them? And are there particular resources available online or somewhere else that could help them?
Well, I would really encourage people to get involved with grassroots organizations in their own community, and there are more and more every day. Many of those grassroots organizations are affiliated with state chapters of a national organization called Start School Later. And I would strongly encourage anyone listening who's interested to go to their website, because it has a wealth of information, not only on the rationale for delaying school start times, but also practical resources to help communities move forward on this important issue, and to be able to dialogue with other communities that have successfully done so.
All right. Well, that is really awesome, and I want to thank you very much on behalf of everyone who's been working on this Teach Out and our audience for, number one, all the great work that you've done to shed light on this area and advocate for it, and number two, for your willingness to come and share this and some incredibly important information and important opportunities for this Teach Out. So thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure, Rod.